Hello upper primary students, it's lovely to be joining you this morning. I'm Victoria Carthew and I'll be sharing your English, math and science lessons today. These are the topics that are coming up. We will explore how authors use language to express feelings and opinions. We'll be looking at how to identify two types of symmetry, and we're going to learn lots of interesting information about bio-waste. So let's begin. Have you ever noticed how the language you use to describe something can influence the way that people think, either positively or negatively, about that topic or idea? Today, Chris will explore how authors use language to express feelings and opinions.
Hi everyone, I'm Chris. We know language is a really powerful tool that authors use to impact on the reader. Today we're going to have a look at how language is used to express opinions about people, places, things and events. Before we explore how language is used, let's make sure we all understand what evaluative language is. Evaluative language is positive or negative language that judges the worth of something. It includes language to express feelings and opinions, to make judgments about aspects of people, such as their behaviour, and to assess the quality of objects, such as literary works. Let's look at some examples to make sure we know what this means. Look at this sentence. Dakota is a wonderful dog. Wonderful is an adjective that describes the dog. If you think the adjective wonderful expresses a positive opinion or feeling, give me a thumbs up. If you think wonderful is an adjective used to express a negative feeling or opinion about the dog, give me a thumbs down. That's right. It's positive. I'm sure that there are lots of thumbs up out there. In this example, the evaluative language is evident through the use of the adjective wonderful to express the positive opinion about the dog. What if we changed this? What if we changed the subjective to something else? Would this change the way the evaluative language expresses an opinion about the dog? Let's see. Let's change our adjective from wonderful to naughty. Dakota is a naughty dog. What happens to the way the sentence expresses an opinion about Dakota now? Is evaluative language being used to express a positive or negative opinion or feeling? That's right. The evaluative language, through the use of the word naughty, is now expressing a more negative opinion about the dog. Our language choices are important because language can influence how other people think about what we are saying in positive or negative ways. It is also important to understand when it is appropriate to use evaluative language to share feelings and opinions. For example, a text like a personal recount, readers would expect to read evaluative language. Remember, a personal recount retells something that has happened to the author in the order of how it happened. Let's read a short personal recount by a character called Corbin to identify evaluative language and how it impacts on the reader. My name is Corbin, and recently I enjoyed a holiday stay at a farm. I liked watching the cows being milked. It was so fascinating to see the streamlined processes with everything computerised. The evenings were entertaining. I finally mastered the computer chess game. The journey home was quick and comfortable, and the food on the plane was nourishing. When I arrived at the airport, my luggage was waiting for me and I was driven home in an impressive silver limousine. Wow! You can tell from this recount that Corbin likes to live the high life, taking holidays and jet-setting around. I don't know about you, but I've never been in a silver limousine. A personal account like this one by Corbin uses lots of evaluative language to express opinions and feelings and pass judgment about these experiences. You will notice that as well as evaluative language, they have used more subjective language about the topic than objective language. Do you know the difference between subjective and objective language? Subjective language is language that reflects the writer's perspective, opinions, interpretations, points of view, emotions, and judgment. When authors use a subjective point of view, they often use evaluative language to show their opinion or feelings. Objective language is language that is free from bias or personal opinion. It can be proved by using facts and figures. For example, the playground has equipment. It can be proved that there is equipment in the playground. Objective language does not convey an opinion. It uses facts alone to give the reader unbiased information. So how is this different to subjective language? What if we use subjective language to describe the playground? For example, the playground has exciting equipment. Not everyone might agree that the equipment is exciting. It is just one person's opinion. Let's see if we understand the difference between subjective and objective language. We are going to take a closer look at some of the language used in Corbyn's personal recount and decide if they are examples of subjective language or objective language. Are you ready for the first one? All right. The first example is, "My name is Corbyn." Is this an example of objective language or subjective language? That's right. It's an example of objective language because it is factual information letting the reader know that their name is Corbyn. The next example is, "The evenings were entertaining." Is this an example of objective language or subjective language? That's right. It's an example of subjective language. Not everyone might agree that the evenings were entertaining. Subjective language helps the reader understand the author's point of view about the evenings, which is represented in a positive way through the use of the word entertaining. The next example, "The journey home was quick and comfortable." Is this an example of objective language or subjective language? That's right. It's an example of subjective language. Not everyone might agree that the journey home on the plane was quick or comfortable. Subjective language helps the reader understand the author's point of view about the journey, which is represented in a positive way through the use of the words quick and comfortable. Let's do one more. The last example, "I was driven home in an impressive silver limousine." Is this an example of objective language or subjective language? That's right. It's an example of subjective language. Not everyone might agree that the limousine is all that impressive. Subjective language helps the reader understand the author's point of view about the vehicle, which is represented in a positive way through the use of the adjective impressive. We can see that this personal recount includes lots of examples of evaluative language, expressing an opinion and feelings about Corbyn's holiday to the farm. As readers, we are influenced to understand that the holiday was a wonderful experience because Corbyn used lots of positive, subjective language to describe his experiences. It is important to remember that when you are communicating with others, that positive and negative language choices will express opinions and make evaluative judgments about people, places, things and events. Write a personal recount about a past holiday or memorable experience. Be sure to use lots of evaluative language to express opinions about the places, things and events. See you next time. Bye.
There is symmetry all around us. You can see it in nature, in made objects, and even in people. In nature, bees build symmetrical hives. Sunflowers and spider webs have radial symmetry, and most animals have bilateral symmetry, meaning that they have one side that matches the other. Even our galaxy, the Milky Way, has symmetry. Let's go to Linda now. She will show us how to identify two types of symmetry.
Hi there. Symmetry is everywhere. We see it in nature, like in flowers, and even fabricated structures, such as buildings and bridges. We can also see it in works of art. Symmetry is a very important part of mathematics and is something that fascinates not only mathematicians, but also psychologists, fashion designers, artists, engineers, and many more. Today, we are going to investigate and design with reflection and translational symmetry. So what exactly is symmetry? A shape has symmetry when it can be folded in half so that both halves are mirror images or reflections of each other. The line formed by the fold is called the reflection line or the line of symmetry. Think about when we see our face in the mirror. Imagine drawing a line vertically down the middle. Have you noticed how one side of your face is a mirror image of the other? Which facial features are symmetrical? Our eyebrows, eyes, nose, and lips. So symmetry can be checked by folding or using a mirror. To do this, we need to place a mirror along the middle of the shape or object. If the shape reflected in the mirror is the same as the shape on the paper, then that shape has reflectional symmetry. Let's have a look at some shapes or objects and test their symmetry. Look at this heart. We can fold it in half to show that it has reflectional symmetry. But what about this polygon? There's no way we can fold it to show symmetry. How about this toy? When we use the mirror, we can see that it has reflectional symmetry. Look at this car. If we put the mirror here, we can see that it also has reflectional symmetry. Now that we've identified symmetry in objects, let's explore the purpose of symmetry. Symmetry can be visually pleasing or have an aesthetic appeal to the eye, or it can be functional and have a practical use. Look at these penguins. Do you think they have aesthetic or functional reflection symmetry? Gosh, they are so cute. It's definitely aesthetic symmetry. But what would happen if the penguin had one leg or one fin? Our penguins would be off balance and walking or swimming would be very difficult. So it also has functional reflection symmetry. Let's take a look at this picture of the Story Bridge in Brisbane. Does it have reflection symmetry? Yes, I can draw a line here and see that it is the same on one side as the other. So it has reflection symmetry. Why do you think it was designed this way? Not only does it make the bridge look good, aesthetic symmetry, it also makes it stronger and more stable. That's functional symmetry. Just what you need for a bridge. Do the bridges in your local area have symmetry? Can you think of any fabricated things that have functional reflection symmetry? What about a soccer ball? Does it have reflection symmetry? Is the symmetry aesthetic or functional? The soccer ball has functional reflection symmetry so that it can roll. But it also has aesthetic symmetry in the pattern. So it has a combination of both. Let's have a look at translational symmetry. A shape has translational symmetry if an outline of the shape can be translated or slid to a new position. The translated image is the same shape and size as the original shape. Let's look at these three designs. Which one shows translational symmetry? It's the hexagons. Now, the hexagons are the same shape, the same size, and facing the same direction, which is why they can be translated or slid into new positions. We can call a hexagon a tessellation. Tessellations may use repeating patterns or a combination of repeated shapes. When we put the shapes together, we pack them very closely with no gaps and nothing overlapping. This makes them not only beautiful artworks, aesthetic symmetry, but also makes them very strong. So they have functional symmetry. Look at this brick wall I built out of blocks. Can we immediately see the repeating pattern of bricks? This tessellating pattern has translational symmetry because a brick can slide from one position to another. It does not change shape or size, and it faces the same direction. Do you think brick walls are built in a tessellated pattern for a reason? A brick wall needs to be tessellated so that it is strong. A split between two bricks is less likely to form a big crack when the joins of the bricks are not all in one line. So we can rely on brick walls as the supporting structures of our houses and schools. Can you find any other examples of translational symmetry in your home? Take a look at this photo of my bathroom tiles. We can see that the rectangles all face the same direction, so it has translational symmetry. It has no overlaps or gaps, so it's another example of a tessellation. Now we can also get creative and make our own tessellations using translational and reflection symmetry. Here's an object I made from some blocks. See how I translated it? So I drew it here and I moved it and I drew it again and again. Did you notice that they have translational symmetry? That's because they're the same shape, the same size and facing the same direction. Now what if I used reflection symmetry? So I've drawn around the original shape. Now I'm going to reflect it. This is the reflected blocks. Here, here and here. Let's check it with the mirror. Is the reflection the same as the image? We could do this again and again and again. If you continued this pattern, it would make a beautiful tessellation artwork. Try it for yourself. What beautiful creations can you make? Or perhaps you can use blocks to design and build a bridge or building to investigate how symmetry can give it strength and stability. Today we investigated reflection and transitional symmetry, aesthetic and functional symmetry in real-life examples, and used symmetry to make beautiful tessellations. See you next time.
Thank you, Linda. Now it's time to meet the next student to feature in our My Place segment that celebrates kids from across the state of Queensland.
Desire. In Yugamir language, that means hello, how are you? My name is Josiah, and I'm in grade 4, and I tend to go to Bud Desert State School. I like staying connected to culture, for going on bushwalks and finding cool artifacts that my old people left us. I like looking for scar trees and rocks that have been sharpened by spears. I hope you're enjoying learning from home. I would love to see you again back at school. Nyanyabu, and that means see you next time in Yugamir language.
Now, are you ready for science? How many bins do you have at home or at school? I have 3 bins, one for paper, cardboard and plastic bottles, one for food scraps and tea bags, and another for things I don't think I can reuse. I always try to keep this one as empty as possible. You might have heard the term landfill. This is a pit where our household waste is placed before being buried. Most communities have a landfill site. Australia currently puts 40% of its waste into landfill. That's nearly half of the waste produced around the country, all being buried. Imagine if we could use some of this waste to produce energy. That's the topic of Brett's science lesson today.
Did you know Australians produce, on average, 540 kilograms of household waste per person each year? That's 1.5 kilograms each per day. Now that's a lot of waste. As a nation, we are creating more waste than ever before. So to help protect our environment, we need to consider new and innovative ways to manage our waste. We can start by thinking about how to reduce, reuse and recycle the waste we produce. Last night, I didn't take my daily rubbish out to the bins. I decided to bring it in here, and here it is. I've organised it into 5 groups: paper, plastic, metal, glass and organic food waste. When we take our rubbish to the bins, the food waste goes into the general rubbish bin and the paper, glass, metal and plastic goes into the recycling bin. That's the one with the yellow lid. Rubbish collected by councils is taken away in large trucks to the local waste transfer facility, where some of it is recycled. Have you ever wondered what happens to the rubbish that can't be recycled? Could we turn it into something useful? For instance, is it possible that our waste could actually be used as a source of energy? Well, thanks to the latest research and development, it can. Scientists in Australia and around the world are currently investigating how we can take something we would normally throw away and turn it into something useful. In fact, there are currently plans to build waste-to-energy facilities in Australia, including here in Queensland, at Ipswich, near Brisbane. Today, we're going to explore the process of using waste as an energy source. Waste-to-energy facilities use organic waste materials as an energy source. Organic waste is material that comes from biological sources. It means it comes from either an animal or a plant. Examples include food scraps, but also crop waste, livestock manure and wood scraps. All this organic waste is known as bio-waste. Bio means biological, so bio-waste means biological waste. The energy that is produced from bio-waste is called, wait for it, bioenergy. Bioenergy is a renewable energy source because it is produced at a rate that is faster than it's being used. That is, it is generated quickly. Any rubbish that we throw away that isn't reused or recycled, including our bio-waste, is normally placed in large holes dug in the ground at our local waste facility. It's called a landfill site. Over time, the organic matter in the landfill decomposes and produces carbon dioxide and methane gases. These can be collected using a network of pipes laid through the landfill. The methane gas is extracted, burned and used to generate electricity. It's an energy chain that illustrates the process of methane gas producing electricity. Let's explore the steps in that energy chain. Step 1. To release the energy stored in the methane gas, it must be burned in a furnace that produces heat energy. Step 2. The heat energy heats up the liquid, usually water, inside a boiler to produce steam. Step 3. The steam is then piped to a turbine. Step 4. The steam pushes and spins the propeller in the turbine, producing rotational kinetic energy. Step 5. The turbine is connected to a generator that transforms the rotational energy from the spinning propeller to electrical energy or electricity. This electricity is then distributed to homes and businesses using power lines so we can turn on our appliances. Step 6. The steam is condensed. It's turned back into liquid water, pumped back into the boiler, and we repeat the process again. Australia is not only leading the way with bioenergy, but also biofuels. What do you think biofuels are? Well, bio means biological, and fuel is a liquid energy source. In fact, scientists are investigating the potential of different types of algae that can produce biofuels. Algae are living things related to plants. They grow in water. They naturally produce oil, which can be used to make fuel. Scientists are looking at how to produce this biofuel in large quantities. So, watch this space. All right, let's recap on what we've learnt today. We know that bio-waste is waste that comes from either a plant or an animal, and it is a renewable energy source. Bioenergy is energy produced from bio-waste. Bio-waste produced by households or industries decomposes to form methane gas that can be collected and burnt to generate electricity. And now it's your turn. For 24 hours, pay attention to what goes into your rubbish bin at home. Make a note of the categories of rubbish: paper, glass, plastic, metal, and organic. Think about how much bio-waste your household throws away and how it might contribute to bioenergy for generating electricity. Thanks for watching and see you next time.
Great idea. I think that's a really worthwhile exercise to pay close attention to how much rubbish your household discards in the next day or two. It will help you get into some good habits. That is the end of Learning at Home TV for today, but thank you for listening so closely. I hope that you've learned some valuable lessons. I'll see you again soon, and in the meantime, stay safe and positive and make sure that you look out for each other and the environment. Bye for now.
Authorised by the Queensland Government, Brisbane.